Let's talk about users and privileges. There are two important users that you need to be aware of. The user that will be used during deployment of the XDM server and the user that will run the XDM server and all the derived processes. The best practice is to use root or admin to deploy the XDM server and to use a different and dedicated user to run the XDM server. We must verify that this user will have all the sufficient privileges, such as read, write, and execute on different files and folders, in order to successfully run the XDM server. The diagnostics utilities will verify that for you. If you deploy the XDM server as root, the MGC MDS daemon will run as root, and MGC server user will run the XDM server and all other processes that derive from it. Let's see how it looks in the input XML file. I open the server user section. By setting the run server as MGC MDS user to false, you are now able to define a different user to run the XDM server. By default, we use MGC server user, but you can define any other user by setting process user for the name of the user and process user password for the password. Moreover, if this is a new user, you can instruct the deployment utility to create this user by setting create process user to true. Please note that if you are running on Windows, you have two advanced configurations to consider. One, you can use an existing domain user to run the XDM server by setting the domain in the process user domain tag. Two, if you want to have your vault location on a remote machine from the XDM server and access it by NFS, you can define a domain user to access the vault location by setting the process user network only to true. For security reasons, as well as other considerations, some customers might not want to deploy the XDM server as root. In this case, you will have to manually install the MGC MDS service as non-root and set the run server as MGC MDS user tag to true. In such case, all other tags in the server user section will be ignored, so you better remove them. Now, you should be able to deploy the server using server deploy-non-root. You are welcome to read more about the non-root deployment flow in our documentation. In this video, we demo how to configure the different users that are used to deploy and run the XDM server and all its derived processes. We emphasized the different configuration between root and non-root deployment flow.